Alright, so if you're new around here and you just want to get straight into the analysis, then skip to this timeline. But if you're regular around here, then stick around. Alright, so this particular series that I've started with this episode, it is going to be very different from what I have usually done. So what I'm basically doing is that in this series, I'll be taking a tech company and I'll be analyzing it. And hence I have named it Through the Lens. I will be giving out the strength, weaknesses, opportunities and threats of that particular tech company. So basically it's a SWOT analysis of a tech company. I'm not particularly sure if I can do this every week, but I'll try to give it maybe every month. So the first brand that I've decided is Samsung because they are the number one smartphone manufacturer. My name is Devatan and you're watching Tech Aisle. Before beginning, Samsung generally means a wide variety of things starting from shipbuilding and ending with refrigerators, and I don't know much about that genre of Samsung, but what I do know about is Samsung Electronics. So today we'll be analyzing Samsung Electronics and in particular Samsung Consumer Electronics. So beginning with the research and development wing of Samsung, they're quite possibly one of the best in the business. Take the Samsung Galaxy Fold for example. Samsung is quite possibly the one company which is dominating the foldable market. Yes, you do have Huawei, but they have the shortcomings like the software. They do not have Google services, right? And Samsung is one of the few companies that is actively trying their best, maybe along with Motorola. Apart from folds, Samsung's hardware has always been stood out, and Samsung's hardware, I think, in my opinion, is arguably one of the best. Take the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra for example. Beautiful piece of hardware in even more beautiful colors. Besides, they are one of the best in screen technology, camera sensors and even RAM and circuit boards. All this is possible due to heavy investment in research and development, which is really paying off. Since Samsung is a large company and they produce different kind of products, their competitors like Apple, OnePlus, they are also their clients and they buy their products from Samsung. That's a crazy power to have. For example, Samsung makes the screen, the RAM board, the lithium-ion batteries for possibly almost all of the smartphones around here. This means that other brands are dependent on Samsung if they want to get a product, and because they're dependent on Samsung, Samsung can potentially charge a high price for that. Alright, you can relate to this very easily if you are someone in the Indian subcontinent. Samsung has a distinct series for different people with different budget. You have the M series which is catered to more online sales and particularly for youth, and you have the A series which is catered to more offline. Note series is the best flagship for people with a stylus, and S series is the best flagship for people without a stylus. And nowadays Samsung is trying to accommodate all the foldables under the Z lineup. Sure, other brands have different series in each price range, but none of them are this diverse and none of them have such a diverse boundary between them. For example, Xiaomi and Realme have some great budget and mid-rangers, but they really lack in flagships. Apple has great flagship, but they fall apart in budget and mid-rangers where they are almost non-existent. Samsung is quite possibly the only one which is giving their best in each price range. There are more strengths for Samsung, but if I include them all, then this will be too long of a video. Okay, now that Samsung has reached the highest point in this video, let me bring it down to the lowest point in this video. Let's talk about the weaknesses. You knew this was coming, right? So for those who don't know, Samsung produces phones with two different chips inside them. One is the standard Qualcomm Snapdragon, which is considered the better one, and also they also have the Exynos chip, which is Samsung's in-house made one, but that is a bit inferior to the Snapdragon variant. So the developers optimize their apps and games for the Adreno GPU found in Snapdragon but not for Exynos, and as a result the Snapdragon counterparts are better in almost every single aspect, including battery life, ISP or image signaling processing, which is the sensor in the chipset which enables the camera to take better photos in software. You also have gaming and heating. These are considerably worse in the Exynos chipset. So the question people are asking to Samsung is how they can possibly do this. How can they price both of the Snapdragon and the Exynos phones at the same price and still have the Exynos chipset worse? Both the Exynos and Snapdragon devices are sold for the same price, and that has made a lot of people agitated. But on the bright side, Samsung has been in talks with AMD to make an AMD powered Exynos chips for 2021. So let's hope for the best. I'm not saying that Android is inferior to iOS or something like that, but hear me out. Apparently 90% of the profit that you get on ads from a Samsung device, that goes to Google because they make the Android system. Samsung, or for that fact, or the other Android manufacturers, get only a 10% of the profit from ads. Besides from that, Samsung actually doesn't get much revenue from the Play Store because a large chunk of that goes to Google. This applies for all the Android manufacturers out there, not just Samsung. And I'm also not saying that Samsung should not run on Android. That could be very lethal, like what happened with Huawei. But this actually explains why Samsung has been pushing to use their own apps like Samsung Pay, Samsung Browser, etc. or use apps from another company with whom Samsung has partnered with, and that is Microsoft. Use Microsoft apps like Outlook, Excel, Word, etc. on a Samsung device. And you know why? Because both of these companies, their main competitor and rival is Google. Mr. Who's the Boss has done a separate video on this whole Google and Samsung thing, explaining all things better than I ever could, so I'll link up a card here. Alright, this could be a bit controversial, but hear me out again. Samsung founder was Lee Byung-chul. His third son, Lee Kun-hee, was the second chairman of Samsung. Lee Kun-hee's son, Lee Jae-yong, is the present vice chairman of Samsung and the de facto leader of Samsung. If it has not been clear, Samsung has been ruled by the same family for 3 generations. Now, why is that a problem? Why is the same family governing a company a problem? Because if the same family is governing an organization, then after a couple of generations, you really start to lack fresh ideas. You only bring old ideas with modification, and these people can sometimes go a little bit overboard. For example, the latest person on that list, Lee Jae-yong, the present vice chairman, has been accused of bribery, embezzlement, and was guilty of corruption, and he was imprisoned for 5 years, although he served only 1 year before getting bail. But on the bright side, Lee has himself told that he will bring an end to this hereditary system and he will not be passing this position to his children. So, fingers crossed. So, if you're not Indian or you somehow missed this, anti-Chinese sentiments have been running quite high in India after a conflict between the two countries. As a result, many started boycotting Chinese products, and that for a country where 70% of the smartphones produced are Chinese, that's a large task. Now that people are looking at alternatives, the best on that they have is, you guessed it, Samsung. So this opportunity, this window that you have, in my opinion, this is the best time for Samsung in India right now. If they can hit it out of the park with a device, then they can cement their position as the #1 manufacturer in India. Although Samsung did initially disappoint with the Samsung Galaxy M01 and M11, which gave horrible specs for that price, Samsung did strike back with M31s and M51. So let's hope Samsung can do the right thing. If I would have been making this video a few weeks back, then this section would have been in the weakness section. But the reason that this section is in the opportunities is because recently Samsung promised that they will give up to 3 years of software support for their flagships. That is great in terms of Android world. 3 years of software support is fantastic. But if you zoom out a bit, then you have Apple, which gives almost 5 years of software support for their devices, even in their low-end devices like iPhone SE. So I think Samsung can try and emulate that. But if that is not possible, then I would suggest to have a look at the budget and the mid-range, where you get only 1 or 2 years of software support. Make that to 3 years. Is that possible? I don't know. So Android has never been able to bring out a smartwatch which can rival the Apple Watch, right? Apple Watch has always been the optimum smartwatch. But in the Android space, Samsung is among the best manufacturers of wearables. So maybe, in my opinion, Samsung can use that window between the Android smartwatches and Apple Watches and get into that window and make something great. What do you think? Maybe Samsung can even collaborate with other brands so that you could have a better device. There's no need to argue here. Chinese manufacturers have always been able to give fantastic value for their device. Now, they have even started giving competition to Samsung's research and development wing. Take the ZTE Accent 25G for example. It is touted as the world's first phone with an under-display selfie camera, which has always been like sort of a fantasy to smartphone enthusiasts because you get that whole screen without any pop-up or notch or punch hole. So the competition that you get, especially from China, that is huge. Yes, Samsung has some great devices, but since it's a large company and you have more employees, more stores, you have to take a larger chunk of the money for profit, since you have more employees, store, components to manufacture, etc. Besides, new technology is always going to be expensive, right? Take the example of Galaxy Fold. It is among the most costliest consumer phones, coming in at $2,000 or 1,50,000 Indian rupees. That is a large amount to pay for a phone. So Samsung, maybe they could try bringing that cost down. In fact, I have theory. The reason that Samsung priced the folds this high is because since they're experimental, they don't want someone to buy it. They're just a piece of marketing. So Samsung maybe can try bring that cost down, right? I know that it won't happen in 2 or 3 years, but think about this. Take a foldable in 2025, which cost only rupees 40,000. That would be great. Yeah. Alright, that's it for today. Hope you liked it. Do let me know how this episode was, and also do let me know that which brand I should do next in my next episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next week. Probably. No, I'll say this. I'll try my best. Lee Kun Hee's son, Lee Jae Hong, Lee Jae Kong, Lee Jong Yeon.